Welcome to another episode of K&K Real Talk. I am here with Becky Lynn Kaufman, MD, and we're going to talk a little bit about painful sex and libido. So before we get into it, Becky, why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about what you do?
Okay, so I am Dr. Becky Lynn, and I work at St. Louis University. I'm an obstetrician gynecologist, and I specialize in sexual problems in women. So low libido and painful sex are two of, I would say they take up about 80% of my practice. They're so common. And I'm also the director for the Center for Sexual Health at St. Louis University.
Oh, wow, you must be busy.
And thanks for having me, Kristen. I really appreciate the chance to talk about this because it's definitely a passion of mine. And I feel like many women aren't educated about these things and are too embarrassed to bring it up. So I really do appreciate the opportunity.
I totally agree. There's still so much stigma around many issues in women's health. And it's silly because over 50% of the world's population is women.
Absolutely. Yep.
So a lot of questions that I get are about painful sex and libido.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with painful sex. What are some tips that you can use when you're experiencing painful sex? Maybe like first, what are some tips to do physically? And then what are some tips to do to maybe communicate with your partner?
Sure. So in regards to endometriosis, it's really important to maximize your treatment. And the thing about endometriosis is that it doesn't happen in a vacuum. So a lot of times women will come in with bad cramps, painful sex, their obstetrician gynecologist will put them on the pill and that'll be that. But nobody asks about the other things that happen as a result of endo, or the fact that endo usually travels in a pack. So it's very commonly seen where a woman has a constellation of things going on. Endometriosis, interstitial cystitis, which is bladder pain syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, vaginismus, which is pelvic floor muscle spasm, and vulvodynia, where they have pain on the vulva. And the thing is, if you only treat the endometriosis, they're still going to have painful sex because you didn't take care of the pelvic floor muscle spasm, and you didn't take care of the bladder pain, and you didn't take care of the chronic constipation. So, medicine is so highly specialized today. We all kind of operate in a box, right? We're like, oh, I'm a gynecologist. I'm going to treat your bad cramps. But you're not thinking about the constipation and other things that go on. And then in that constellation of like things that women with endometriosis can have, they a lot of times have anxiety and depression, because who wouldn't if you had chronic pain? And so that's another thing. If you don't treat the anxiety and depression, you're not going to maximize their ability to get better. Because the way that I look at anxiety and depression is it turns up the volume on pain. So you may be having kind of a level of pain here, and then you're depressed, and it's just like it seems so much louder in your mind. And so it's really important to take care of all of those, and especially like pelvic floor muscle spasms. So what that is, it's where the muscles that surround the vagina tense up, and it's a response to pain. And then when they tense up, they sort of tighten the vagina, and it makes pain worse. So they tense up even more, which makes pain worse. So that is something that really, really needs treatment when it comes to painful sex. So the best way to treat that is with pelvic floor physical therapy. And a lot of women are a little hesitant to do pelvic floor physical therapy, but yes, there's a physical therapist for the vagina, and they work wonders, seriously. And they teach you how to relax those muscles so then sex can become pleasurable again and not so painful. So I think the main thing is starting with getting adequate treatment. And if you can find a pelvic pain center, and not everybody lives near a metropolitan area, it's not always easy. And too bad there's not telehealth to a lot more rural areas. But if you can find a pelvic pain center, you can really maximize the treatment, because people in a pelvic pain center are highly attuned to the other things that go along with endometriosis. As far as communicating with your partner, communication is absolutely key. Grin and bear it never works, although many women do that. Many, they're just like, I'm just going to power through it. And yeah, it's not good for anybody involved, because sometimes partners are like, well, I don't want to hurt you. And the woman says, just get over with. And that's not healthy or pleasurable for anybody, not the woman, not the man. And so communicating about what's going on and that this is a disease and we'll just have to find our new normal and that things may be different because I have endometriosis. And you want to find an understanding partner. I mean, nobody is perfect. Everybody has something going on. So if yours is endo, you work through it and you find your new normal and you work through treatment and find things that can help make things better. That was a long answer.
No, but definitely. A lot of women ask about pelvic floor therapy because they are hesitant, because it's someone going to be looking at their vagina more intensely than a gynecologist. And it's uncomfortable, and it may be uncomfortable, but it's for the greater good. I think a lot of women are like, no, I don't want to deal with the uncomfortable now.
Yes.
Just feel better later.
Right. And the thing is, with pelvic floor physical therapy, I noticed that I would tell my patients about it, and I know what it is. I know that it works wonders, and I know that it's not weird or anything like that. But I found that a lot of my patients would come back and they're like, well, I didn't do pelvic floor physical therapy because, I thought it was a little weird. So I have a YouTube channel. If you search Dr. Becky Lynn, you can see it. And I did 2 videos, one on pelvic floor physical therapy, where I interviewed a pelvic floor physical therapist. And my goal with that video is to explain what it is and what they do. So that way people have something to watch in advance so they're not freaked out about it. And then I also made a second video that was specific to endometriosis with our endometriosis surgeon and another pelvic floor physical therapist. And we talked about how we all work together. And so anybody who has endometriosis and is a little bit gun shy about seeing a pelvic floor physical therapist, then please go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Becky Lynn, just search it. And you can find those 2 videos to get some more information.
I personally have been prescribed, and I've been one of those people who didn't go because I was too freaked out.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, after having a hysterectomy, a lot of my symptoms got better. So I didn't have to do it. But I should have. I should have done it. And I think we're just so comfortable being uncomfortable that we don't want to be more uncomfortable.
Right, exactly. That's a good way to put it. You're uncomfortable being uncomfortable, so why add insult to injury?
Yeah, like they think it's going to hurt them. They don't think it's going to be beneficial. They think it's going to cause more harm, and they're going to go into a flare.
Right. And really, if you have the right physical therapist, if you see somebody who specializes in pelvic floor physical therapy, and again, if you're within a pelvic pain center, and not everybody is, I understand that, but those are the people who deal with this every day and understand your fears and concerns and understand that, more pain is not going to make you come back next week, and it's certainly not going to make it better. Let me just add one more thing for people who have pelvic pain. For some people, they have to pay a copay every week to go to physical therapy, and it really adds up, or their insurance doesn't cover it. It's not physical therapy, but one thing you can do to help relax the pelvis is yoga. So, I tell my patients, if you can't go every week, just maybe go every 2 weeks or once a month to have your physical therapist work with you. And in the meantime, do yoga, because yoga helps with flexibility and, it helps you stretch, and it also helps you relax. So if you have a component of anxiety, it really helps everything relax. And the thing is, when you look at the pelvis, and you're having pain with sex, all you're thinking about is the vagina and the uterus. But that's not everything that's in the pelvis. You have lots of ligaments and tendons and muscles. And so that yoga really helps sort of balance out an unbalanced pelvis. Sometimes you get tight on one side and not as tight on the other side. So, and yoga is free. You can find it on YouTube. And I like Yoga by Candace. It's one of my favorite ones. And it just really helps stretch out the pelvis and helps you relax and build core strength too.
So do you recommend any specific type of yoga, like restorative yoga or maybe pelvic specific yoga?
I think yoga for like hips, lower back, and legs is really good. As far as yoga, it's all about what you want to get out of it. And if you're new to yoga or if you've been doing it a long time. So if you're new to it, you don't want to hop in and try like advanced hardcore yoga. You want to go slowly and maybe do like a short video or go to yoga class. And any and all of it will be helpful. So it's more like what is going to work for you.
And I was originally one of those people who was very, very sedentary, and I felt like that was how I was supposed to be, and that was the best way to be, to keep my endo at bay. Now that I've started actually moving and I've joined a martial arts gym and I've been doing jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, and then I've been doing yoga on the side at home just to work on my flexibility.
Right.
I've actually noticed that I'm more flexible. I have a little bit more energy. I won't say a lot because there's tweaks I need to make, especially in my diet. And just not only the exercise, but having something to look forward to going do something with other people, like-minded people. It helps your depression so much just to go and see other people at the gym, see them working out. You're getting the endorphins from working out yourself.
Yep.
I think a lot of people adopt the mindset that I had, that if you don't move, it's better. But I've now changed my mind to, I'd rather hurt and be sore for a purpose, for doing something that I actually find that I love, and being kind of sore the next day after class, rather than being sore from inactivity and endo.
Yeah, and so exercise has so many benefits in people who have chronic pain. So endorphins are natural painkillers. So I highly recommend exercise for so many reasons, not just to help prevent diabetes, help maintain a healthy weight, help prevent coronary artery disease, but for people with chronic pain, it's easy, it's free, and it's got a zillion other benefits, and it lowers the amplifier on pain, both because of the endorphins, but also it helps your mood, and it helps with fatigue. So like if you talk about antidepressants that we, prescribe for people, you can get those same chemicals released in your brain just from exercise that gets your heart rate up and makes you break a sweat. So, all these, the release of endorphins and improvements in mood really come from aerobic exercise. So like lifting weights is really good. You build muscle, but if you have limited time, and a lot of women have limited time, you really want to focus on the aerobic exercise to lower the amplifier on pain.
I always suggest going for a walk. And I like to go for a walk outside because not only am I getting my walk in, you can take your dog, because I have a dog. Most people have dogs. Take your dog with you, or go alone. Take your spouse. Enjoy the world around you. Because the world now is so negative, and we're pushed all these negative things, especially from the news and magazines. Just enjoy nature and smile at a stranger and walk down to the river or the lake and watch some birds. Just simply adding a little walk into your day can improve your whole day.
Yes, definitely.
Because I feel like we wake up negative, and then we wake up and we just go.
Yes. Yeah. I know it's easy to be negative in our world today, but I totally agree. Getting outside with nature is another fantastic, and you get a walk in at the same time. It's good exercise.
So let's talk a little bit about libido. How
Okay.
can we naturally raise our libido, or what are some things to do that can maybe bring that spark back to make us want to be intimate with our partner?
Yes. So libido is definitely incredibly complex. There's so many things that go into it. It's what you were taught about sex and libido. It's your relationship. Do you have a good partner and, someone who treats you right? Do you have other chronic diseases besides endometriosis? I mean, there's depression, anxiety, substance abuse. There's so many things that can play into libido. So it's definitely the most complex thing that I treat. With endo patients, the first and most important thing is to fix the pain. Because if you don't fix the pain, women with endo are not going to have any libido, because sex is something that I always say this. So if you've seen any other talks, I've been on this all the time. Sex is selfish and selfless. So you do it because you love your partner, it brings you closer together, there's a connectedness, but also you have to get something out of it. If sex hurts, why do it? It's a no-brainer. So the main thing is to really fix that pain. The other things you can do are make sure that you are open and communicating with your partners. You want to maximize communication, because even the best of relationships can have some communication issues, and throw endometriosis into that mix, and it's like a double whammy. So you want to maximize your ability to communicate, maximize your relationship, and there's many ways to do that. And then, there are things that you can, one other thing. So when women have low libido, and well, let me back up even more. So libido changes throughout your life. So it has to do with testosterone, and it has to do with other chemicals in the brain. But a woman's maximum testosterone occurs in her late 20s, and then it goes down from there. So men tend to have libido, and I'm just talking in general terms in heterosexual relationships, but definitely there are homosexual and other relationships. But in general, for men and women, men are here, women are here, and then women's libido naturally goes down. So then what to do about that? You could be perfectly healthy and have nothing going on, and your libido might not be matched to your partner. So the second point about that I wanted to make is that many women can have sex and be perfectly satisfied without reaching orgasm. But when your libido is low, it's important, in my opinion, to reach orgasm, because then you're getting a lot more out of it. And so, like I said, you have to be a little selfish, and your needs need to be met as well. And women usually orgasm from clitoral stimulation, and less often with vaginal penetration. So a woman who has painful penetration can still get a lot out of a sexual experience without that penetration. Should I keep going? There's other things you can do for libido. Some other things that I recommend are erotic reading. So you can pick up a romance novel, whatever novel works for you, and everybody is aroused by different things. And our biggest sex organ is our brain. So if you read on a regular basis, then you'll be much more likely to have spontaneous sexual thoughts throughout the day. And it just makes you a little bit more receptive, a little bit more open to the idea. And women in general have a different type of libido than men do. So men tend to have more spontaneous sexual thoughts throughout the day. Some men say they're always thinking about sex, less likely in general in women. Women have a more responsive desire. So they're not thinking about it, but maybe their partner gives them a hug or a kiss or takes out the trash or whatever it is that you need in the relationship. Then you might be thinking about sex. But certainly if there's relationship problems and you're angry and you're mad about something, forget about it. Like, you're just not going to be interested. There are medicines you can use to restore drive. And if you've had a hysterectomy and they took your ovaries out, I feel like physicians are really good at giving women who've had hysterectomies, giving them their estrogen back in a super low dose form. Sometimes women with endo, we give them progesterone because estrogen can stimulate the endometriosis pain. But we forget about testosterone. And in fact, there is no FDA-approved testosterone for women. And, you know, like you were 24, and when you had your ovaries out, that's young. And so, you know, I think it's unfair that we have no FDA-approved testosterone for women, because we do take women's ovaries out sometimes when they're young. We do it for other reasons. We do it for women with BRCA, but yet there's no FDA-approved way to replace their testosterone. But you know, when you take a woman's ovaries out and her ovaries are making a lot of testosterone, her libido is going to go like that. And unfortunately, we don't talk about it enough. There are other drugs you can use for libido. There are 2 other drugs. One is Wellbutrin, which is an antidepressant, and it actually has been shown in small studies to improve libido, even in women who are not depressed. And there is one FDA-approved drug for low libido, one and only, and it almost didn't get approved, that women can use, called Addyi. And this one improves libido in premenopausal women, typically it is FDA approved for women who don't have other reasons to have low libido. But my gut feeling is most people who have low libido have a good reason to have it. So I do use it off-label in young women with low libido who maybe have something else going on. So there are definitely options.
Those are great tips. I actually am on Wellbutrin and find it is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
For not only my mood, but for like feeling more desirable, feeling more sexual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does a good job.
I didn't actually know that it was also prescribed for that. I was prescribed for depression.
Right. So it's an off-label use. It's not FDA approved for that, but there are scientific studies that show that it helps.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for being on. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. And if you want to see Becky on again, let me know, or you can find her on Facebook. Don't forget to look up her YouTube channel. Do you want to plug that again before we go?
Yeah, so I actually have a couple of social media sites. I have my YouTube channel, just search Dr. Becky Lynn. I have a Twitter, which is at Becky K. Lynn. My Facebook is Women's Sex Health MD. And on Instagram, I'm Becky Lynn MD. And one more plug for St. Louis University. I am part of our pelvic pain center. And if you're close to the St. Louis area, we have 2 fantastic, like people come from all over the world to see our endosurgeons. And we work closely with a pain specialist, with pelvic floor physical therapy, with a GI doc who's familiar with pain. We just have a really amazing pelvic pain center, and I feel very fortunate that I work there. So, but definitely thank you for having me. I'm really happy to get this message out.
Well, thank you so much. I know that tons of women suffer with painful sex, and not just women with endometriosis. You can just have painful sex just because.
Right. Yep.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys next Monday.